Hi everybody, happy hump day. We are almost halfway through this course, believe it or not. Crazy! Everything moves quickly. Just checking in. In general, people are submitting and the quality of the work is quite pleasant, I would say. I enjoy marking most of the assignments because they are well put together and you are asking good questions, so keep that up. Just thought I would do a quick FAQ to answer some of your more frequently asked questions. Um, so let's just get right into it. Question number one, what's up with Unit 2? Why is it such a mess? Um, no, it's not a mess. I shouldn't say that. I guess one of the more difficult parts about the course in general is that you are asked to do an awful lot of independent work, including reading a Shakespearean play, which is not easy to do. Um, and then, when you asked going through the units, my guess, and I don't mean this in a critical way, I just mean this is how I would do a course if I was doing it really pragmatically, is that you often, and you meaning everybody, myself included, you often jump through a lot of the content to get specifically to assignments and then work backwards because you're really anxious about what is the expectation is instead of really, you know, doing, doing unit work, which would normally be done in an English class, reading the entire novel, answering some of those questions, and then having the context to properly evaluate the assigned question. So I often get these emails from people where people seem extremely flustered, but in most cases it just is because they haven't really read the expectations. Now, mind you, Unit 2 does have some not particularly traditional demands of you. Iambic pentameter, the whole blocking exercise. But, these are opportunities to learn and they're opportunities to use slightly different tools than you're normally doing. And, at least it's not another essay to throw down. I know some of you prefer that, but it is good to diversify a little bit. So, I just listed here a couple things that you should do to avoid feeling anxious about these assignments. One, read all the content. So oftentimes for, let's say, where you're doing activity 3, there will be a couple of pre-activities in activity 1, activity 2 that would help prepare you for the activity that you're doing. Start at the beginning, read all the content, give it a chance, do some research. If you're unclear on certain things, I posted one article about blocking for some people who are struggling with the concept because the amount of information that's posted is pretty superficial. But you can go out and find that as well because the internet exists. Amazing. Don't be confused by ExpressLab because really all you need to do is figure out how to use one tool for audio or video. And from the looks of it and from the submissions, most of you have figured that out and have sent me great YouTube links or found ways to download or to send me rather a full movie file. So that's great. Question number 2. Can I resubmit as many times as I like? I've answered this before, so there's a couple things to that. Yes, you kind of can. Generally speaking, I try to give pretty detailed and helpful feedback without spelling out the answer the first time you give me feedback. My biggest pet peeve in the course is, I do that out of the goodness of my heart. Most teachers are not doing that and are not allowing resubmission. Um, and then my biggest pet peeve is when people then resubmit right away without really changing their answers very much. And so I go back and I read the whole thing again, and really they've made one small adjustment to move, a 7.6 to a 7.8 or something like that. Well, if you're going to resubmit something, make it worth your time and my time. Take all the constructive criticism and work through it. And sometimes that means reworking an answer in its entirety, not just a small piece of it. Okay? So yes, you can resubmit, but I don't work that hard after I've done the first, uh, giving you the critical analysis or my own feedback. I don't work particularly hard at getting this next draft back to you quickly. Question number 3. When are midterms? Well, the midterm marks are due on Monday. So, what will be included? Because most of you are lagging behind, uh, that's a great question. We would like to include all Unit 1 and Unit 2 marks, and my goal is to be caught up marking for all of those. Now, since the drop boxes remain open a week later than the actual due date, that will be hard to do. So the question, will I be penalized if I am behind? You will not be directly penalized. You will just be given an approximate mark anyways, which is what I will do. So if, let's say, you have only submitted Unit 1 assignments, you haven't done any Unit 2 assignments before for me, so you're a couple of days or like a full week behind, I will make mention of that and I will lower your mark. So if you got 95s across the board, I will probably give you a more realistic projection of your final mark. But that's what I would do anyways, because we now have a board policy where you're not supposed to give lower than a 35 for a midterm mark, right? Well, that makes some sense, but it also makes sense that probably you don't project and mismanage expectations by giving out 100 for midterms as well, right? So you won't be penalized in the long term. Just make sure you note the due dates, okay? Speaking of due dates, last on the agenda here, drop boxes, I have been closing them 1 week after the due date is posted, and they've been closing at 10 p.m. This is going to change next week in Unit 2 to 10 a.m. Okay, and that is purely pragmatic for myself, so that once it's closed, I can get that marked and out of the way on that day. And then as we get closer and closer to the end of the course, we of course cannot have this 1 week lag between Dropbox closing, or between due date and Dropbox closing. It just doesn't work because time will run out and marks will be due. So the final day to submit all your work besides your culminating activity is going to be July 25th at 10 p.m. So I believe that's the Monday, and then your culminating is due the Wednesday. Okay? So you still have a lot of time, you still have a lot of lag. I'm going to do my best to make sure the people who are working hard get the mark that they deserve. Keep the questions coming. There's no bad question, even if it's obvious. Just try to really work your way through the units slowly. Shakespeare, I understand it might be painful, and doing those extraordinary assignments might be painful as well. But do your best. And a lot of you are doing excellent work, so keep it up. And I hope to hear from you all soon. Oh, and also, just so you know, I really enjoy watching your videos because it's nice to see your beautiful faces, because otherwise I would never have a sense of who you are. Sometimes, with some names, I've gone through full courses where I didn't even know if someone was a boy, was male or female, and then I somehow, would get a tip off at the end of the course. I'm like, oh, I didn't picture that person like that at all. So it's kind of nice to put a name and a face together. That's it for now. Peace, everybody.